Translate this and my salary is yours, the rich man laughed, waving an old paper like it was trash. His maid smiled quietly. What she did next made his mouth drop wide open. But let me tell you how this crazy story started, because what you're about to see will change how you think about people forever. Have you ever been totally wrong about someone? Tell us in the comments where you're watching from. Hit subscribe right now because what happens next will blow your mind. You definitely don't want to miss this. This happened on a regular Tuesday in Alex Romano's huge apartment in New York City. Alex was super rich. He owned a big computer company and thought he was the smartest guy in the room. Mr. Alex was really good at figuring people out. He could tell who was smart, who wasn't, and he was never wrong about people, or so he thought. In his hands was a very old piece of paper his grandpa had given him before he died. It was written in a language that nobody could read anymore. Not even the smartest teachers from the best schools could figure it out. Mr. Alex had tried everything. He asked language experts. He even tried Google Translate. Nothing worked. Now, Mr. Alex was looking at his maid, Gloria. She was 38 years old and cleaned his apartment every day. She was always quiet and never said much. But today, Alex got a mean idea. "Hey, Gloria," he said with a nasty smile. "Want to make some easy money?" Remember that old paper Alex was holding, the one nobody could translate? Well, that document was about to bring together two people who couldn't be more different. Here's why this story is so crazy. Alex Romano was the kind of person who believed money equals intelligence, and Gloria Santos was the kind of person Alex thought was just not smart enough. Boy, was he wrong. Hit that like button if you've ever been underestimated because of your job or background. Let me show you exactly who Alex was, because understanding him makes what happens next even more shocking. Alex Romano wasn't just rich, he was stupid rich. At 42, his tech company made him millions every month. His penthouse apartment cost more than most people's entire life savings, and he wore suits that cost more than Gloria made in 3 months. But here's the key thing about Alex. He measured everyone by their bank account. If you had money, you were smart. If you didn't, you weren't worth his time. "I can spot intelligence in 30 seconds, Alex would brag to his business friends. It's all about education, success, and knowing your place in the world. This belief system led Alex to make one crucial mistake. He completely ignored his maid. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. While Alex was busy judging people by their paychecks, Gloria Santos was living a completely different reality. Every morning at 6 a.m., Gloria took 2 buses and a subway train to reach Alex's penthouse. She'd been cleaning his apartment for 3 years, washing his dishes, folding his expensive clothes, making his bed. But what Alex never knew, never asked, and never cared about was this. Gloria was brilliant. Back in Guatemala, Gloria had been a literature professor. She spoke 4 languages fluently, and had spent years studying ancient texts and historical documents. She'd come to America 15 years ago with dreams of teaching at a university. But life had different plans. Her foreign degree didn't count in America. She needed money immediately to feed her daughter Maya. So she took the only job she could find, cleaning houses. Have you ever had to put your dreams aside just to survive? Comment below and tell us where you're watching from. Here's the part that makes this story incredible. Gloria never stopped learning. While Alex slept in his expensive bed, Gloria studied online courses on her old laptop. While Alex watched Netflix, Gloria read library books about history and languages. While Alex partied with his rich friends, Gloria helped Maya with homework and dreamed of better days. And here's the most important detail, the one that's about to change everything. Gloria's grandmother back in Guatemala had taught her to read ancient Mayan dialects when she was just a little girl. The same Mayan dialects that scholars around the world were paid millions to study. The same ancient languages that Alex's expensive experts couldn't crack. But Alex had no clue about any of this. To him, Gloria was invisible. just a quiet woman who cleaned his mess and stayed out of his way. He was about to learn that ignoring someone doesn't make their abilities disappear. So there Alex was, holding his grandfather's mysterious paper, watching Gloria dust his bookshelf like she had done 1,000 times before. But today felt different. Today, Alex was feeling extra mean. You see, Alex had just gotten off a phone call with another language expert, the 5th one this month. Professor Johnson from Yale had just told him the same thing everyone else said. Sorry, Mr. Romano. This language is too old, too rare. Maybe try the Smithsonian. Alex was frustrated. He'd spent over $50,000 trying to get this stupid paper translated, and nobody could do it. His grandfather had always said the document contained the family's greatest secret, but what good was a secret nobody could read? That's when Alex looked at Gloria and got his nasty idea. Hey, Gloria, Alex called out, his voice dripping with fake friendliness. Come over here for a second. Gloria stopped dusting and walked over, keeping her eyes down like she always did. She'd learned that rich people didn't like it when the help looked them in the eye. Yes, Mr. Alex, she said quietly. Alex held up the old paper and smiled the kind of smile bullies make before they pick on someone smaller. You know what this is, Gloria? She glanced at the paper briefly. It looks very old, sir. It's a 500-year-old document, Alex said, waving it around like it was a toy. My grandfather left it to me, and you know what? The smartest people in the world can't read it. Harvard professors, Yale experts, even people from other countries. Nobody can figure it out. Are you already feeling bad for Gloria? Hit that like button if you hate seeing people get picked on. Alex walked closer to Gloria, enjoying every second of what he was about to do. But here's the thing, he continued, his voice getting meaner. I'm feeling generous today, so I'm going to give you a chance to make some real money. Gloria looked confused but stayed quiet. Here's my offer, Alex said, holding the paper right in front of her face. If you can translate this document perfectly, and I mean perfectly, I'll give you my entire monthly salary, $200,000. Cash. Gloria's eyes went wide. $200,000? That was more money than she made in 5 years. That was enough to pay for Maya's college, get a better apartment, maybe even go back to school herself. But then she saw Alex's smirk. Of course, Alex continued, when you fail, and you will fail, because people way smarter than you couldn't do it, you have to quit your job. No 2 weeks notice, no goodbye. You just pack up and leave forever. The room went completely silent. Alex was practically giggling with excitement. In his mind, this was perfect. He gets to humiliate his maid, prove how superior he is, and get rid of an employee who probably asks for too much money anyway. What do you think, Gloria? Alex taunted. Want to try your luck against Harvard professors? Can you believe how cruel Alex is being? Subscribe now because Gloria's response is going to shock everyone, including Alex. Gloria stood there for a long moment, staring at the paper in Alex's hands. Her heart was beating fast, and her mind was racing. She thought about Maya, her daughter, who dreamed of becoming a doctor. She thought about her tiny apartment with the leaky faucet she couldn't afford to fix. She thought about taking buses and trains for hours every day just to clean rich people's houses. But she also thought about something Alex didn't know. Gloria looked at the writing on the paper, and her breath caught in her throat. Those symbols, those letters, that style of writing, she recognized it. This wasn't just any old language. This was Quichas, an ancient Mayan dialect from her grandmother's region in Guatemala. The same language her grandmother used to tell bedtime stories in when Gloria was little. Alex had no idea that he was holding a document written in Gloria's ancestors' language. He had no idea that Gloria's grandmother had taught her to read these exact symbols when she was just 10 years old. Alex thought he was making an impossible bet. But Gloria knew something he didn't. This bet wasn't impossible at all. What do you think Gloria should do? Comment below, would you take this bet or walk away? Don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. Gloria slowly looked up at Alex for the first time in 3 years. Her quiet, humble expression was changing into something Alex had never seen before. "Mr. Alex," she said softly, "I'll take your bet. I'll take your bet." Those 4 words hung in the air like a bomb about to explode. Alex's smirk faltered for just a second before returning even bigger than before. "Really?" Alex laughed so hard he almost dropped the document. "You're actually going to try? This is going to be even more entertaining than I thought." But something had changed in Gloria's posture. For the first time in 3 years, she stood up straight. She looked Alex directly in the eyes. The invisible maid was becoming visible, and Alex was too blinded by his own arrogance to notice the danger. Alex walked over to his massive marble kitchen island and spread the ancient document flat on the surface. The yellowed paper looked fragile under the bright LED lights, covered in symbols that looked like tiny drawings mixed with strange letters. "Take a good look, Gloria," Alex said, his voice dripping with fake concern. "This is 500 years old. The ink is fading, some parts are torn, and the language—" He shook his head dramatically. "Even Google doesn't know what this is." Gloria stepped closer to examine the paper. Her heart was pounding, but not from fear, from excitement. These weren't random symbols to her. They were words from her childhood, stories from her grandmother's kitchen, lullabies sung in a language older than the pyramids. But she kept her face completely neutral. Alex couldn't know. Not yet. "How long do I have?" Gloria asked quietly. Alex checked his expensive Rolex watch. "You know what? I'm feeling extra generous. You get 30 minutes. That's more time than I gave those Harvard professors." Are you rooting for Gloria yet? Drop a comment and tell us if you think she can do it. What Alex didn't know was that Gloria had already read the first 3 lines. In her head, she was translating, "To the keeper of our bloodline. The secret of our ancestors' wisdom lies hidden in the sacred mountain where the jaguar sleeps." This wasn't just any Mayan text. This was a treasure map. A real, ancient treasure map leading to something valuable hidden in the mountains of Guatemala. Alex's grandfather had somehow gotten his hands on one of the most important historical documents in Central American history, and Alex was treating it like a joke. Gloria felt a flash of anger. This document represented her people's heritage, her culture's wisdom, her ancestors' secrets, and this rich, ignorant man was using it to humiliate her. But then she remembered Maya. Her daughter who dreamed of being a doctor, her daughter who deserved better than a tiny apartment and second-hand clothes. $200,000 would change their lives forever. "I'll need paper and a pen," Gloria said calmly. Alex's grin got even wider. "Oh, you want to write it down? How cute!" He grabbed an expensive notebook and a gold pen from his desk. "Here you go. Write down your failure for posterity." Alex settled into his leather recliner with a glass of wine, pulling out his phone to record what he thought would be Gloria's humiliation. In his mind, he was already planning how he'd tell this story to his friends at the country club. 30 minutes starts. Now, Alex announced, starting his phone timer. But something strange was happening. Gloria wasn't struggling or squinting at the symbols like the other experts had done. She wasn't scratching her head or looking confused. Instead, she picked up the gold pen and immediately started writing. Smoothly, confidently, like she was copying text from one language to another. Alex's smile started to fade. What are you doing?" "Translating," Gloria said without looking up. "But you haven't even studied it yet." "You're supposed to struggle, try to figure out what language it is, maybe ask me some questions." Gloria paused and looked at Alex with an expression he'd never seen before. It wasn't the humble, quiet look she usually gave him. This was the look of a professor dealing with a very slow student. "Mr. Alex," she said patiently, "did you want me to translate this document, or did you want me to pretend I couldn't? Subscribe right now because Gloria is about to school this millionaire in the most epic way possible." Alex felt a weird chill run down his spine. Something was wrong. This wasn't going according to plan at all. Gloria was supposed to stare at the paper helplessly, maybe cry a little, then quit in shame. But she was writing, actually writing, and fast. What language do you think it is?" Alex asked, trying to regain control of the situation. "Kichi Maya," Gloria replied without hesitation. "A classical dialect from the highlands of Guatemala, probably from the late 1400s based on the writing style and the type of ink used." Alex's wine glass stopped halfway to his mouth. She knew the exact language. She knew the time period. She knew details about ink that he'd never even thought about. Who was this woman? For 15 minutes, Gloria wrote steadily. Her handwriting was neat, precise, scholarly. She occasionally paused to consider a word, but never for long. Sometimes she'd smile slightly, like she was reading something interesting. Alex, meanwhile, was starting to panic. His heart was beating faster. His palms were sweating. This couldn't be happening. This was impossible. "Time!" he called out, even though only 25 minutes had passed. Gloria looked up. "Actually, I'm finished." She set down the pen and slid the notebook across the marble counter to Alex. Alex stared at the pages covered in Gloria's neat handwriting. His hands were shaking as he picked up the notebook. What do you think Alex found when he read Gloria's translation? Comment below with your guess, and don't forget to tell us where you're watching from. And when Alex read the first line of Gloria's translation, his world completely fell apart. Alex's hands were trembling as he read Gloria's translation. The first line hit him like a punch to the gut. "To the keeper of our bloodline, the secret of our ancestors' wisdom lies hidden where the sacred jaguar sleeps beneath the mountain of gold." Wait. What? Alex read it again, then again. His expensive education had taught him enough to recognize something important when he saw it. This wasn't just any old document. This was talking about hidden treasure, real treasure. But that was impossible. Gloria she wouldn't have known. "Where did you—" Alex's voice cracked like a teenage boy's. "How did you know what this said?" Gloria calmly folded her hands in front of her. The scared, quiet maid was completely gone. In her place stood someone Alex had never seen before, confident, intelligent, and completely in control. "You asked me to translate it?" Gloria said simply. "So I did." "But this is impossible!" Alex shouted, waving the notebook in the air. "I paid Professor Williams from Harvard $50,000, and he couldn't even tell me what language this was. I flew in an expert from Germany who spent 2 weeks with this document and got nowhere." Gloria tilted her head slightly, like a teacher watching a student struggle with simple math. "Maybe," she said quietly, "you hired the wrong people. Subscribe right now because you're about to witness the greatest comeback in history. Don't you dare look away." Alex's mind was racing. He grabbed his phone and started calling his expert contacts. First, he called Professor Williams at Harvard. "Professor, it's Alex Romano. That document I showed you last month. You said it was untranslatable, right? You were certain?" "Absolutely certain, Mr. Romano," came the professor's voice through the speaker. "That's a dead language. There are maybe 3 people in the world who could even identify the dialect, let alone translate it." Alex stared at Gloria, who was calmly adjusting her cleaning supplies like nothing had happened. "And these 3 people, where would I find them?" "Well, one is Dr. Martinez at the University of Guatemala. Another is Professor Chen in Beijing, who specializes in ancient American languages. And the third is supposedly some elderly woman in rural Guatemala, but she's more legend than fact. Why do you ask? Alex hung up the phone without answering. His face had gone completely white. Are you starting to realize what's happening here? Comment below if you think you know Gloria's secret. Dr. Martinez in Guatemala, Alex said slowly, staring at Gloria. You wouldn't happen to know him, would you? For the first time, Gloria smiled. Not the polite, servant smile she'd worn for 3 years. This was different. This was the smile of someone who'd been underestimated for far too long. Dr. Carlos Martinez was my professor in college, she said. He's also my uncle. The room started spinning around Alex. His maid, his invisible, ignored, uneducated maid, was related to one of the world's leading experts in ancient languages. And the elderly woman in rural Guatemala? Alex whispered, though he already knew the answer. My grandmother, Rosa Santos. She was the last native speaker of classical Quiche Maya in her village. She taught me everything she knew before she died. Hit that subscribe button now because Alex's world is about to completely explode. Alex stumbled backward and fell into his leather chair. Everything was crashing down around him. His perfect world view, rich equals smart, poor equals stupid, was shattering into a million pieces. You're telling me, Alex said weakly, that my cleaning lady is one of only 3 people on Earth who can read this document? Was, Gloria corrected. I was your cleaning lady. According to our bet, I just won your monthly salary and proved that your smart professors couldn't do what this uneducated maid just did in 25 minutes. The silence in the apartment was deafening. Alex could hear his own heartbeat pounding in his ears. $200,000. He'd just lost $200,000 to someone he'd considered beneath him. But it was so much worse than the money. Alex looked at the translated document again. This wasn't just any treasure map. According to Gloria's translation, this was directions to a lost Mayan temple filled with gold artifacts worth millions, maybe tens of millions. His grandfather's worthless old paper was potentially the most valuable document Alex had ever owned, and the only person who could read it was the woman he'd just insulted, humiliated, and bet against. What do you think Alex should do now? Comment your advice because this man just made the biggest mistake of his life. Gloria, Alex said, his voice barely a whisper. I owe you an apology. And $200,000. Gloria picked up her cleaning supplies and walked toward the door. The money would be nice, Mr. Alex, but what I really want is something you can never give me. What's that? Gloria turned around one last time, and Alex saw 15 years of ignored intelligence, dismissed expertise, and invisible brilliance in her eyes. Respect, she said, but I don't need it from you anymore. I know who I am. Don't you dare stop watching now! Subscribe because what happens next will blow your mind completely. Wait! Alex jumped out of his chair so fast he knocked over his wine glass. Red wine splattered across his white marble floor like blood. Gloria, please don't leave. Gloria stopped at the door but didn't turn around. Her hand was on the doorknob, freedom just inches away. I'll double it, Alex said desperately. $400,000. Cash. Today. Now Gloria turned around, but her expression wasn't what Alex expected. She wasn't excited or grateful. She looked disappointed. You still don't get it, do you? Gloria said softly. If you're screaming at your screen right now, hit that like button. Alex is about to learn the hardest lesson of his life. Alex's mind was spinning like a broken computer. Everything he thought he knew about the world was wrong. His cleaning lady was smarter than his Harvard experts. His worthless maid could read documents that stumped professors. His entire belief system had just exploded. Help me understand, Alex pleaded. Please, I made a mistake. A huge mistake. But that document, it's worth millions, isn't it? We could be partners, split everything 50-50. Gloria actually laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. It was the laugh of someone who'd heard this song before. "Now I'm your partner?" Gloria shook her head. "5 minutes ago, I was just your stupid cleaning lady. What changed, Mr. Alex?" Alex opened his mouth to answer, then closed it. What had changed? Gloria was the same person she'd been an hour ago, the same brilliant woman who'd been invisibly cleaning his apartment for 3 years, the same person he'd ignored, dismissed, and looked down on. The only thing that changed was that Alex finally saw her, but Gloria wasn't done. "You want to know the real tragedy here?" Gloria walked back into the room, her voice getting stronger with each word. "For 3 years I've been in your apartment. For 3 years you could have asked me about my background, my education, my dreams. For 3 years you could have discovered that your maid spoke 4 languages and had a degree in literature." Alex's face was burning with shame, but Gloria kept going. "You had books in that library that I helped research when I was in college. You had historical documents on your shelves that I could have explained to you. You had artifacts from my country that you bought as decorations, never knowing that the woman dusting them grew up surrounded by their history. Are you feeling this in your chest right now? Comment below if you've ever been invisible to someone who should have seen you." Alex looked around his apartment with new eyes. The Mayan sculptures he'd bought to impress visitors. The Central American artwork he'd purchased because his decorator said it was exotic. The books on ancient civilizations that he'd never read but kept for show. Gloria had been surrounded by pieces of her own heritage every day, watching a rich man treat her culture like expensive decorations. "You want to be partners now because you need me?" Gloria continued. "But where were you when I needed you? When Maya got sick last year and I had to choose between taking her to the doctor and coming to work? When my rent went up and I was eating 1 meal a day so she could have 2? Alex's stomach dropped. "Maya got sick. When?" "You wouldn't remember. You were in Dubai that week, posting pictures of your vacation while I was in the emergency room with my daughter, praying I had enough money to pay for her treatment. If this doesn't make you subscribe right now, nothing will. This story is about to reach its most powerful moment." The weight of Alex's ignorance was crushing him. For 3 years, a brilliant woman had been struggling right under his nose, and he'd been too self-absorbed to notice. He'd been living with a scholar who could unlock ancient mysteries while treating her like furniture. "I could have helped," Alex whispered. "Could you?" Gloria asked. "Or would you have just thrown money at the problem and felt good about yourself? Would you have actually seen me as a human being worth caring about, or just another charity case to make you feel generous?" Alex couldn't answer because he knew the truth. Even if Gloria had told him about Maya's illness, even if she'd asked for help, he probably would have just written a check and forgotten about it by the next day. "The document," Alex said weakly, grasping for something to hold on to. "We could find the treasure, change both our lives." Gloria's expression softened for just a moment, and Alex thought he saw a flicker of the kind woman who'd quietly cleaned his apartment all these years. "Alex," she said, using his first name without the Mr. for the first time ever. "That treasure you're dreaming about? It's not gold coins or jewels sitting in some cave waiting to make you richer? What do you think Gloria means? Drop your guess in the comments because this revelation will change everything. The treasure is knowledge, stories, history. The location your grandfather's document describes is a sacred site where my ancestors recorded the wisdom of their civilization. It's not meant to be sold or owned. It's meant to be protected and shared." Alex felt like he was shrinking. Every word Gloria spoke made him realize how small his understanding of the world really was. "You see treasure and think money," Gloria said sadly. "I see treasure and think about preserving my people's legacy for future generations. That's the difference between us, Alex, and that's why we could never be real partners." Gloria opened the door to leave, but then she paused one more time. But I'll give you one last chance to surprise me. Don't you dare stop watching. Subscribe now because Alex's response will either redeem him or destroy him completely. One last chance to surprise me, Gloria said, her hand still on the door. Alex stood there in his expensive apartment, surrounded by his fancy things, feeling smaller than he'd ever felt in his life. The red wine was still spreading across his white floor like a stain he couldn't clean up, just like the stain on his conscience. For the first time in years, Alex wasn't thinking about money or business deals or impressing anyone. He was thinking about Maya, a teenage girl he'd never met, getting sick while her mom chose between medicine and work. "Gloria," Alex said quietly, "tell me about Maya." It wasn't what Gloria expected him to say. She'd been ready for another money offer, another business proposal, another attempt to use her for his own gain. But this was different. Alex's voice was softer now. Real. "Why?" Gloria asked suspiciously. "Because," Alex said, sitting down on his leather couch and looking up at her. "For 3 years, I've lived in the same space as you, and I never once asked you about your life. I never asked if you had kids or dreams or problems. I treated you like a robot that cleaned my mess." Gloria studied Alex's face. She'd seen him angry, arrogant, frustrated, and desperate, but she'd never seen him look ashamed before. "Maya is 17, Gloria said slowly. "She wants to be a doctor. She gets straight A's in school, but last year she got pneumonia, and I couldn't afford to take time off work to take care of her properly." Alex winced. "What happened?" "She ended up in the hospital for a week. The bill was $12,000. I'm still paying it off." $12,000. Alex spent more than that on a single dinner at fancy restaurants. He'd bought watches that cost twice that amount without thinking about it. "Gloria," Alex said, standing up, "I want to pay Maya's hospital bill. All of it. Today." Gloria's eyes narrowed. "In exchange for what?" "Nothing," Alex said. "No deals, no partnerships. No strings attached, just because it's the right thing to do." Are you surprised by Alex's response? Comment below and tell us if people can really change. But Gloria wasn't convinced yet. She'd worked for rich people before. They always wanted something in return, even when they pretended to be generous. "And then what?" Gloria asked. "You feel good about yourself for helping the poor maid, and tomorrow you go back to treating service workers like they're invisible?" Alex looked around his apartment again. At the artwork Gloria had dusted every day. At the books, she probably knew better than he did. At the kitchen, where she'd cleaned up his messes without ever complaining. "You know what?" Alex said, walking to his desk. "You're right. Paying one bill doesn't make me a good person. It just makes me less of a terrible one." He pulled out his checkbook and started writing. "What are you doing?" Gloria asked. $200,000, Alex said, still writing. "Our bet. You won it fair and square." He tore off the check and held it out to her. "No conditions, no partnerships, no nothing. It's yours." If you're on the edge of your seat right now, smash that subscribe button because this story is about to take the most unexpected turn. Gloria stared at the check, but didn't take it. "Why?" she asked. Alex looked at this woman, really looked at her, for the first time in 3 years. He saw intelligence in her eyes that put his Harvard professors to shame. He saw strength that came from years of struggling for her daughter's future. He saw dignity that no amount of money could buy. "Because you earned it," Alex said simply, "and because I've been an idiot." Gloria slowly reached out and took the check. $200,000, enough to pay off Maya's medical bills, get them a better apartment, maybe even help Gloria go back to school. But then she did something that made Alex's jaw drop for the second time that day. She folded the check in half. "Alex," Gloria said, "I'm going to take this money. Maya deserves a chance at her dreams, and this will help us build a better life. Alex nodded, feeling good about himself for the first time all day. But, Gloria continued, I want you to understand something. You didn't just lose a bet today. You lost 3 years of knowing an amazing person who was right under your nose. What do you think Gloria means? Drop your guess in the comments because her next words will change everything. I quit, Gloria said. Not because of the money, not because of the bet, but because I finally remembered who I am. I'm not just a cleaning lady, I'm a scholar, a teacher, a mother, and a woman who deserves respect. Alex felt the floor drop out from under him. Gloria, wait! I'm going back to school, Gloria announced. I'm going to get my American teaching credentials, and then I'm going to teach kids about history and languages and cultures. I'm going to make sure no child grows up thinking that where you come from or what job you have determines your worth. Alex stood there, stunned. Gloria wasn't just taking his money and leaving. She was transforming her entire life. And Alex, Gloria said from the doorway, thank you. For what? For reminding me that I never needed your permission to be extraordinary. Subscribe now because what happens next will leave you speechless. Gloria was almost out the door when Alex's phone rang. The caller ID made his blood run cold. Professor Williams, Harvard. Don't answer it, Gloria said, noticing Alex's expression. But Alex was already swiping to answer. Something told him this call would change everything. Mr. Romano! Professor Williams's voice was practically shaking with excitement. I've been researching that document you showed me. I made some calls, did some digging, and, my God, do you have any idea what you actually own? If you're getting chills right now, hit that subscribe button, because this story just took another crazy turn. Alex put the call on speaker, his eyes locked on Gloria's face. She had stopped halfway out the door, her expression suddenly serious. What do you mean, Professor? That document isn't just any Mayan text, Williams continued, his voice getting faster and more excited. I contacted my colleague Dr. Martinez in Guatemala, and he confirmed my suspicions. What you have is part of the lost Codex of Itzamna, one of the most important archaeological discoveries that never officially happened. Gloria's face went completely white. She knew that name. Every person from her region knew that name. The Codex of Itzamna was thought to be destroyed by Spanish conquistadors in the 1500s, Williams explained. But legend says that Mayan priests hid copies in secret locations. If your document is authentic, and from what I remember it looked genuine, you're holding a piece of history worth more than money. It's priceless. Are you starting to understand how big this really is? Drop a comment if you're realizing what this means. Alex stared at Gloria, who had gone very, very quiet. Professor, Alex said slowly, how would someone go about translating something like this? That's the million-dollar question, Williams laughed. There are maybe 2 people alive who could properly translate classical Quiché Maya with the accuracy needed for academic work. One is Dr. Martinez, but he's in his 80s and rarely takes on new projects. The other is supposedly some elderly woman in rural Guatemala, but finding her would be like finding a needle in a haystack. Gloria closed her eyes and took a deep breath. Professor Williams, she said, stepping back into the apartment and speaking toward Alex's phone. This is Gloria Santos. Dr. Martinez is my uncle. The elderly woman you're talking about was my grandmother, Rosa Santos, and I just spent 25 minutes translating that entire document. The phone went completely silent. Subscribe now because Professor Williams is about to lose his mind. Excuse me? Williams finally sputtered. Who is this? My name is Gloria Santos. I have a degree in literature and history from Universidad del Valle in Guatemala. I studied under Dr. Carlos Martinez before coming to the United States 15 years ago. And the document Mr. Romano has been trying to translate for months? I just did it in half an hour. That's impossible, Williams whispered. Mr. Romano, who is this woman? Alex looked at Gloria with new eyes. Again. Just when he thought this story couldn't get crazier, it did. She was my maid, Alex said quietly. The silence on the phone lasted so long that Alex thought the call had dropped. Your maid, Williams finally said, just accomplished something that I've been trying to do for 30 years. Can you believe what's happening right now? Hit that like button if your mind is completely blown. Professor Williams, Gloria said, her voice getting stronger. Would you like me to read you the translation? Yes, please. Oh my God, yes. Gloria picked up her notebook and began reading in her clear, confident voice. To the keeper of our bloodline, the sacred wisdom of our ancestors lies preserved in the mountain sanctuary where the jade jaguar watches over the written words of our people. 7 days' journey from the Great Lake, follow the river that runs backward until you reach the place where morning never comes. As Gloria read, Alex watched Williams's career change forever through the phone. This wasn't just a treasure map, it was directions to a lost Mayan library, a place where ancient books and scrolls had been hidden for 500 years. Miss Santos, Williams interrupted, his voice shaking, would you be willing to work with our university on this? This could be the most important archaeological discovery of the century. Gloria looked at Alex, then at the check still in her hand, then back at the phone. Professor Williams, I'll work with you under one condition. Anything. This discovery belongs to the people of Guatemala. Any artifacts, any knowledge, any historical treasures we find, they go back to my country's museums and universities. This isn't about making money. It's about returning stolen history to where it belongs. Are you getting goosebumps? Comment below if you think Gloria just made the most boss move ever. Alex watched in amazement as his former maid negotiated with Harvard University like she owned the world, because in a way, she did. She held the key to unlocking mysteries that scholars had dreamed about for centuries. Ms. Santos, Williams said, I think you and I are going to work very well together. When can you start? Gloria looked at Alex one more time. I can start immediately. I just quit my last job. Alex stood in his apartment, holding an ancient document that was worth millions, watching the woman he'd ignored for 3 years become an international archaeological consultant in real time. And for the first time in his life, Alex Romano realized that he wasn't the smartest person in the room. He never had been. After Gloria hung up with Professor Williams, the apartment fell completely silent. Alex sat on his expensive couch, staring at a woman he thought he knew but had never really seen. His maid, his former maid, had just become one of the most important people in the archaeological world. In 30 minutes, she'd gone from cleaning his floors to potentially rewriting history books. And Alex? Alex was still the same person he'd always been. Rich, but suddenly feeling very, very small. If you're feeling this emotional shift, hit that like button because what happens next will hit you right in the heart. Gloria, Alex said quietly, I need to ask you something. She turned around, her notebook still in her hands, looking like a completely different person than the quiet woman who'd arrived that morning. What? How did you do it? Alex asked. How did you stay so kind, so humble, so good, when people like me treated you like you were invisible for 3 years? Gloria sat down on the edge of his coffee table, facing him. For the first time since she'd worked for him, they were sitting at the same level, eye to eye. Alex, she said, do you want the real answer or the nice answer? The real one. Subscribe now, because Gloria is about to drop the most powerful truth you'll ever hear. I stayed humble because I had to, Gloria said. When you're an immigrant, when you're poor, when you're working jobs that people look down on, you learn that your survival depends on being invisible. I smiled and stayed quiet because fighting back meant losing my job, and losing my job meant Maya didn't eat. Alex felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. Gloria, But you want to know the truth? Gloria interrupted. Every single day I went home angry at myself for accepting less than I deserved, angry at people like you for making me feel small, angry at a world that judges people by their job instead of their heart. The words hung in the air like smoke from a fire. Then why didn't you ever say anything? Alex asked. Because I needed this job more than I needed my pride, Gloria said simply. Until today. Are you crying yet? Comment below if you've ever felt like Gloria, invisible but fighting to survive. Alex looked around his apartment one more time. At his expensive art that Gloria had carefully dusted. At his imported furniture that she'd polished. At his designer rugs that she'd vacuumed. Every single thing in his perfect apartment had been touched by the hands of a woman who could read ancient languages and unlock historical mysteries. A woman he'd never bothered to have a real conversation with. I could have learned so much from you, Alex said, his voice breaking slightly. Yes, Gloria said, you could have. The simplicity of her answer made it hurt even more. Is there... Alex swallowed hard. Is there any way I can make this right? Gloria stood up and gathered her cleaning supplies one last time. Alex, you paid me fairly for my work. You never yelled at me or treated me badly. You just didn't see me. And honestly, that's not something you can fix with money or apologies. If you're holding your breath right now, subscribe, because the next part will leave you speechless. But, Gloria continued, there is something you can do. Alex leaned forward. Anything. The next person who cleans your house or serves your food or delivers your packages, ask them their name. Ask about their family. Ask about their dreams. Really listen to their answer. Gloria picked up her purse and headed for the door. Because you know what I learned today, Alex? I didn't need your permission to be extraordinary. I was extraordinary all along. But it would have been nice if you'd noticed. Are you getting goosebumps? Hit that like button if Gloria just became your hero. As Gloria reached for the door handle, Alex called out one last time. Gloria, what's going to happen with the archaeological dig? With the lost library? She turned around and smiled. Not the polite maid smile, but a real, genuine, excited smile. Professor Williams is flying me to Guatemala next month. Maya's coming with me. She's going to see her grandmother's village for the first time and watch her mom help uncover 500 years of hidden history. That's incredible, Alex said, and he meant it. It is, Gloria agreed. And you know what the best part is? What? Maya gets to see that her mom isn't just a cleaning lady. She gets to see that hard work, education, and never giving up on your dreams can take you anywhere, even if it takes longer than you hoped. Gloria opened the door to leave, but then she paused and looked back at Alex one more time. Alex? Yeah? Thank you for the bet. Not because I won the money, but because you finally gave me a reason to remember who I really am. And with that, Gloria Santos walked out of Alex Romano's apartment and into the rest of her extraordinary life. But this story isn't over yet. 6 months later, Alex Romano was sitting in the most uncomfortable plastic chair he'd ever experienced, surrounded by excited teenagers and proud parents in the gymnasium of Roosevelt High School in Queens. He was nervous. More nervous than he'd been during his first $1 million business deal. Because today, Maya Santos was graduating as valedictorian of her class, with a full scholarship to Columbia University to study pre-med. And Alex was here because, well, that's a story you won't see coming. After Gloria left that day, Alex had spent weeks thinking about everything she'd said. He'd hired a new cleaning service, and just like Gloria suggested, he'd asked the woman her name on the first day. Rosa, she'd said, surprised that he'd asked. Nice to meet you, Rosa. Do you have family? Rosa had stared at him like he'd grown a second head. Rich people didn't usually ask cleaning ladies about their families, but Alex had kept asking. About Rosa's kids, her dreams, her struggles. He'd learned that Rosa was from Honduras, that she was studying English at night, that her son wanted to be an engineer but couldn't afford college. And that's when Alex had an idea. Alex had called his company's HR department and asked a simple question. How many of our janitors, security guards, and cafeteria workers have college degrees from other countries? The answer shocked him. 43 people. 43 brilliant minds working minimum wage jobs because their foreign degrees weren't recognized in America. Engineers cleaning toilets, teachers serving lunch, doctors emptying trash cans. So Alex had done something unprecedented in corporate America. He'd created the Hidden Genius program. Are you getting chills? Comment below if you love where this is going. The program was simple. Any employee working in facilities or food service who had international education credentials could apply for company-sponsored training to get American certifications. Alex's company would pay for classes, cover living expenses, and guarantee job placement in their field once they completed the program. But Alex didn't stop there. He'd also tracked down Gloria's information and sent her an envelope. Not a check, not a business offer, but something else entirely. Inside was a letter that read, Dear Gloria, I know you're busy changing the world of archaeology, but I wanted you to know that you changed mine too. Enclosed is a small token of appreciation for the education you gave me, the most important lesson I've ever learned. And in the envelope was a certificate showing that Alex had donated $1 million to establish the Gloria Santos Scholarship Fund at Roosevelt High School, specifically for children of immigrant families pursuing higher education. If you're not crying right now, you have a heart made of stone. Hit that subscribe button. The first recipient of that scholarship had been Maya Santos. That's why Alex was sitting in this uncomfortable chair. Maya had invited him to her graduation, not knowing he was the anonymous donor behind her scholarship. But the real surprise came when Maya stepped up to the podium to give her valedictorian speech. My mom always told me that smart comes in many forms, Maya began, her voice strong and clear. She said that some people are book smart, some are street smart, and some are heart smart. But the smartest people, she said, are the ones who know they still have something to learn. Alex shifted in his seat, wondering if Maya knew he was there. A year ago, my mom was cleaning apartments for rich people who never saw her as anything more than hired help. Today, she's in Guatemala, leading an international team of archaeologists in the most important dig of the century. The crowd erupted in applause. Alex found himself clapping harder than anyone. Are you clapping too? Let us know in the comments if Maya just became your new hero. But this speech isn't about my mom's success, Maya continued. It's about what happened to the man she used to work for. Alex's blood went cold. She knew he was here. 6 months ago, a very wealthy man learned that intelligence isn't measured by bank accounts. He learned that worth isn't determined by job titles. And he learned that the most valuable thing you can give someone isn't money. It's respect. Maya paused and looked directly at Alex in the crowd. That man could have just felt guilty and forgotten about us. Instead, he did something that will change hundreds of lives. He created opportunities for people who just needed someone to believe in them. Subscribe right now because Maya's next words will restore your faith in humanity. Mr. Romano, Maya said, still looking at Alex. I know you're here, and I want you to know that my mom was right. People can change. Thank you for proving that even the smallest act of seeing someone's worth can create ripples that last generations. Alex felt tears streaming down his face. The entire gymnasium turned to look at him, and for the first time in his life, he didn't care about being the center of attention. After the ceremony, Maya walked up to Alex with her diploma in hand. "Mr. Romano," she said with a smile that reminded him so much of Gloria, "my mom wanted me to give you something." She handed him a small package wrapped in brown paper. Inside was a photo of Gloria standing in front of an excavation site in Guatemala, wearing a hard hat and grinning from ear to ear. On the back, in Gloria's handwriting, were 5 words. "Thank you for seeing me." Are you sobbing? Hit that like button if this story just changed how you see everyone around you. Alex looked up at Maya, who was watching him with kind eyes. "Your mom," Alex said, wiping his tears. "She saved my life." "No," Maya said gently. "You saved your own life. Mom just reminded you who you could be." As Alex drove home that night, he thought about how one ancient document and one impossible bet had changed 3 lives forever. Gloria was in Guatemala, rewriting history books and showing her daughter where they came from. Maya was heading to Columbia University to become the doctor she'd always dreamed of being. And Alex? Alex was finally learning how to be human. If this story changed how you think about the people around you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Because everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. And everyone deserves to be seen. But wait, comment below and tell us, what's one person in your life that you want to really see for the first time? Let's make this story count.